Got it.
Hey everybody, Dr. Tom here, and I'm here with my good friend Dr. Sergey Soren, and we are here for a really awesome live event that we're doing, and we're talking. Hey everybody, Dr. Tom here, and my YouTube's already playing back to us. We're here for a special event.
Nice.
We're kind of coming to the close of Lyme Awareness Month, and as we all know, Lyme awareness is a year-round thing, but we use May as a time to really bring it forward and share our healing knowledge. And one of the things, in past years, what I've done is I've done a lot of like, here's acute Lyme disease, how to identify it, how to treat it. I see a lot of like, hey, like how do we prevent tick bites? And we talked about that early in the month with Dr. Miles. But really, as you saw in our last live conversation, and really where I want to go tonight with Dr. Sergey is to talk about really how we heal. Because so many times in this conversation with chronic Lyme disease and other chronic conditions across the board, irregardless of what the underlying trigger is, we find that people are stuck. And so that's really what I wanted to do. So not just Lyme awareness, but recovery awareness, like health awareness. How do we prevent illness? We have an amazing immune system. We love our lives and we uplift ourselves. How do we recover from chronic illness the same way? So Sergey, I would love for you, thank you so much for being here tonight. And I would love for you to introduce yourself a bit and let everybody know kind of your background and how you got to this place.
Oh yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, we met and we talked at A4M, and that was a great meeting, a great conference. So obviously, we're both in the holistic wellness circles, but my journey started actually way back. As a matter of fact, I'll take it back to the generations. My grandmother was a physician back in the former Soviet. She was actually a pediatric cardiologist, having to deal with very limited resources and just still accomplishing miracles. That's where I learned a lot. My uncle was a physician. He was unfortunately killed by a transfusion that contained hepatitis C. That was back in the former Soviet Union. There was no malpractice there at the time, I guess the good and the bad, so to speak. But I've seen quite a few things. My mom has worked as a nurse her whole life. And I went into medicine. It was a no-brainer. But I went into conventional medicine first, thinking that that's the answer and that's a solution. And it took me 2007 personal diagnosis of colon cancer stage 3+. And I was literally doubled over on the floor just after drinking a little water, and that's how I ended up in the emergency room. In the meantime, blowing off all the symptoms and totally ignoring everything that I know about how to identify cancer, because we do a terrible job taking care of ourselves as providers. Anyway, that was a fantastic foundation and a turnaround point on a dime, literally on a dime. I just woke up and. When the first oncologist told me that, you're going to be dead in 2 years with or without chemo, and plus or minus, we're going to, torture you until then, something clicked. I just remembered my heritage. I remembered my past. It wasn't immediate, but it just inside the gut, the soul, the spirit. And I'll get into that in just a second, because that's holism: spirit, soul, mind, body. Just jumped out and said, no way. And so I've been basically in remission, so to speak, for the rest of my life, and despite the death sentence. And I learned a lot of stuff along the way. I also happened to start a number of companies, and ultimately I met and I joined actually the practice of Dr. Norm Shealy, the original founding physician in holistic medicine back in the 60s and 70s. And he's got a lot to his name. We can talk about Dr. Shealy, who actually just recently became my official dad. He adopted me, as a matter of fact. I mean,
he's like the OG, man, the OG of functional medicine. And I think like one of the things that's so important about him being the OG and you having that experience is he's been thinking about this longer than either one of us have been alive, right? And
yes.
to be that direct lineage of someone, because like when I went in medicine, Sergey, like we started out, I was like, man, it's broken and I need to fix it. I thought I had to do it all by myself. Turns out there are other people who were out there literally before I was born who knew that patients needed more. So we don't necessarily need to recreate the wheel. We can stand on the shoulders of these giants.
Boom. Tom, love you, brother. It's these conversations are just so easy. There's this is the work of the spirit. And I'll be frank with you. In the past, I used to prepare a lot of things, speeches, presentations, conferences, PowerPoints. I still have them. At this point, it's just basically I'm just a vessel. I'm just going to speak and express whatever is the truth that comes through me, and to the best of my capacity. And there we go.
It's so true, because like when we sat down and after we first met, we started having this conversation that was just like we had known each other forever. The content was so old and so new and refreshing, and it was so easy for us, right? And I think it's because we are that vessel. And it's funny, it's interesting, we were talking before we hopped on the air that we're both working on books and stuff to share our version of health and healing with others. And for me, it's just like, what do I have to say that's so unique that comes through my experience? And how is spirit attempting to express health in a way where I can use my unique experience as a healing professional and as a patient to help people change. So, let's dive a little bit into your story though, what is it like when you're a patient, right? Because I think that so many doctors are like, doctor, follow this, do this, yes. The latest thing, here's the tincture. But what's it really like to be a patient? And what was that part where were you at a point where you were about to give up on yourself? And how did you uplift yourself?
Thank you for asking that question. And this is actually this brings back a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings. And the interesting thing about those feelings and emotions, they're as real as when they first happened. And the strength and the power of the moment, the intensity of the moment. So I'm gonna just start with the very first time that I found out that I had a problem. If you can imagine, I'm 32 years of age. I finally made it to the physician status. I am finally making a great salary. I got my American dream, married. Well, not happily, as I found out, at some point later, leading to divorce. But neither was my ex-wife, and she ended up dying of pancreatic cancer. Perfectly happy, healthy, slightly younger than myself.
Oh my God!
Lady, basically drank herself to death. I didn't realize that, but I saw the pattern: pancreatic cancer. So this is what we do. We create the outcomes, but I'm getting ahead of myself slightly. So literally, I'll just tell you frankly, the very first moment, I probably turned whiter than this white coat, as a matter of fact. When I knew I had a problem. I knew it was a surgical situation. I know I was blocked, but I made up all sorts of stories, differentials, excuses.
Right.
You hear the word cancer, boom, there you are. That's the world just stops right there. And the first thing that occurred to me was, oh God, no, not me. Why? Why me? Why now? Why this? I just got to the place that I'm happy. I achieved what I came here to achieve, and now I'm gonna die. What's the point? What's the sense? Why did I work my entire life to become a doctor, achieve all these things? There's so much for the material and the American dream from the material perspective. And I'm just going to say it that way. Not to say that material doesn't matter. It plays a part. But literally, within 5 minutes, something rose up. And when you get hit hard enough, and you hit the rock bottom, literally rock bottom, it's a springing board. It's a foundation. It's a foundation for a new beginning. And I still remember how I told this oncology doctor, and again, I'm not saying he's a bad person, he's just doing what he knows best, just giving me this death sentence and saying I'm dead in 2 years, and this is what we call nocebo. And now he doesn't have to be a bad meaning person to cause bad effect. It's that there's literally, if you tell a cancer patient or any patient that you're going to have this outcome, you have this chances of survival, you have this chances of recovery, you're going to have these problems, even if you don't have to have those things, you will create them in your life. You will manifest. You'll make it happen. So the first thing that happened was I refuse. I will not allow this bastard, excuse the expression, to guide the rest of my life. He's fired. But instead of telling him you're fired, the only thing that came to my mind, and being from former Soviet Russia, I blurted out, "If you don't leave this room right now, I'm going to kill you before I'm dead," or something of that nature. So literally,
Oh my goodness.
It was a little stronger than that. I mean, he left shortly after that. But I mean, not saying I did the right thing or it was the best thing, but the good thing about that was a rebellion. I knew I wasn't accepting that, and that's when I realized I was gonna come from a different angle, because he was coming from the physical angle. Here's the cancer, here's the physical, here's the body, here's the numbers, and I said, no way, no way in hell. I have to remember who I am.
Yeah. Oh, so good. So just to highlight a couple of things for everybody, like part of this is, I think it's so important to understand the nocebo, right? So, or a negative placebo. So what we think about, we bring about is one of the terms that's been around forever, just as a little reminder. But if someone tells you that you have cancer or you look like you have cancer, even if you don't have it at the moment, within a year you will. If someone says the only thing you can do is kind of hang on and suffer through chemotherapy for 2 years, that's probably the most likely outcome, if you believe it. So well-meaning, well-intentioned providers will tell you what they think because they haven't seen anything that's outside of their narrow lane in the conventional system, such as it's not common, especially back then, to have cancer go into remission. It's not, and we hear in Lyme disease, everybody talks about, hey, you know what? You can't get better. Wait, how can I get better? But like everything's framed around like I can't. And so you meet a lot of people who say you can't. Well, I would recommend you hang out with somebody like Sergey who says I can, and he's going to die. And I know in a minute we'll dive into why he knew he can and how he could. But also one of the things is when you're working with a provider, look for someone who has helped other people get better, who they themselves have gotten better. And when things get, when the tough get, things get happening, when the going gets tough is what I'm trying to come up with. Yeah. They stay on your side and they stay optimistic. That doesn't mean we're unrealistic, yes. But I know so many providers who just tell you, well, you're just going to essentially be in remission. It's going to come and go and come and go, and you really can't get better. I don't accept that, just like you didn't accept your diagnosis. So.
And it's thank you for saying that. It absolutely, very extremely true. It positive placebo, even in the hands of those who don't believe in it. In other words, there's still a 30 or 40% average effect, which is better than most drugs out there, for God's sake. So literally, just think about it. That's the power of the mind. But whatever you plant, that's what grows. If you plant weeds, so to speak, you're going to have weeds. If you plant something, something that you really want, like a tomato or a cucumber in the garden, that's what's going to come out. Plant the seed that you want, and you will have the outcome that you need. And actually, Tom, that takes us to something I'd like to address with you, which is something I learned from you, I should say, setting the 3 intentions for the 3 wins for the day and the 3 intentions for the next day. 3 wins for the next day. I've been doing that, by the way, and it's been fantastic. Not single one has failed yet. So, power right there, brother. Thank you. Yes, but I think I may have gotten away from the topic. But
no, it's all good. Well, because the question that I have is like, we're talking about Lyme Awareness Month, right? And many of the people who work with me, follow me, and that I am on this planet to help serve are people who are feel stuck, or they've been told that there's not this place to heal. And so many people that resonate with the work that I do, and I know the work you do, are the ones who are looking for not only that super high level conventional medical knowledge, the integration of functional medicine, integrative medicine, and and then sort of like best of East and West, but also who believe in the power of spirit and the power of your mind in this. And it's not to say that one's better than the other, but they're all one thing. So how when you're suffering because so many people here are suffering with chronic environmentally acquired illnesses, how do you get diagnosed with a terminal cancer? How do you turn that around, and how can you apply that to sort of other, maybe not typically life-ending diseases, but seriously dramatically life-altering diseases? How do you work with that? And how did you do it, and how do you work with patients?
Thank you. I follow something called the Blueprint for Holistic Healing. And that blueprint starts nowhere else other than spirit, soul, mind, control center, body. When I say body, I mean patterns. It means patterns of lifestyle, nutrition, activity, sleep, reset, relaxation, body mass index, weight, that all plays a role. Patterns of stress management, or patterns of being stressed out chronically, which is behind 95% of all the terrible things out there. Really, mental health, emotional health, but also physical health. Every chronic disease, including metabolic diseases, cancers, depression, and anxiety, are closely linked to cancers. Lyme disease is associated absolutely incredibly with with mental health and chronic pain. Those are the things that literally come together. I've never seen a Lyme patient or a cancer patient who did not have an aspect of depression or some kind of mental aspect, which is why most cancer people end up being on antidepressants even before they have even if they're not depressed. Here's an antidepressant because you're going to get depressed. Another nocebo. And what does the antidepressant do, by the way? Messes up the brain waves. Interferes with our natural blueprint. So we're really forgetting about the blueprint. My answer to recovery was literally remembering and realizing, if I'm dead in 2 years, but then I said to myself, what if I'm dead in 2 days, in 2 hours, in 2 minutes? What's the difference? Literally, what is the difference? Or a bunch of decades? It's the quality of life. It's the purpose. It's the meaning. It's who I am. It's why I'm here. It doesn't matter how many decades I live if I'm wasting it away on either not living a full life or not being authentic and true to myself, or suffering physically, mentally, emotionally, simply not living my best life. So literally, that's when I woke up. And that's when I said, I'm going to address it from another angle, because the oncologist was looking at it from the physical angle. And from a physical angle, that specific cancer, stage 3+, as they called it, colon, was associated with certain survival ratios. There were numbers, but that's physical, and I'm not disregarding that. I actually did a little chemo, but then I said, when they wanted to do more chemo without explanation, that's when I said, no, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. If that's the conventional has to offer, then I'm definitely looking outside. But that was great. I learned a lot from that. I took it from the spirit, soul, mind, bodies. And I started asking myself, who am I? What am I? Why am I here? Why do I exist? What is my purpose? What is my meaning? If I'm here for 2 more days, 3 more days, 2 weeks, 2 years, 20 years, 40 years, 70 years, what am I here to accomplish? Why am I literally here? And I started answering those questions, and it took several decades, literally. Actually, I shouldn't say several decades, but over a decade, I should say. I'm now in my late 40s right now. But it literally took several decades to fully realize the impact, but it was an ongoing prospect. But as soon as I switched my perspective to that I'm a spiritual being, I'm a soul, and this is the control center, I literally immediately started saying, I need to control this. I need to control my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions. I need to reset the things, the patterns that led me into this cancer experience. Why was it allowed to happen? What did I do metabolically, lifestyle, and what did I do by not following the blueprint of how I was created, so to speak, in the image and likeness of the creator, by the way, and I'll say that far. Yeah. I've had several near-death and out-of-body experiences, so that I don't have to say I believe.
Yeah, you guys don't need to do this. Sergey's done enough of that for you. My brother, like, one of the things that you say that really I think everybody needs to hear, and I need to hear over and over. So it's funny, a lot of the things I highlight for other people are really the things I need to hear the most, which I love about what we do. We lead by example. We do this in our own lives, and we are honest about when we do well and when we need to reset and maybe do a little better next time. But you really said a couple things that come together that I think are really important. It's the emotion behind this that's really critical. So when you're saying, hey, I'm a spirit, soul, mind, the control center down to your body, why do we go in that order? Why is it so powerful? And when you look at this, if you look at it from a different perspective, like the way that we put, like our subconscious mind, if you will, is sort of the control center that leads to like 95% of our results automatically that we're not even thinking about. We have control, but we're not typically volitional control. The way we put things in there is through emotion. And if it happens fast, it's usually a negative emotion. Doesn't have to be, but it usually is. Like, you get a cancer diagnosis, COVID happens, 9/11, you get diagnosed with Lyme, and you know all these people who don't, and can't get better. And so immediately you emotionally get that blueprint changed. It's like, I think of it as upgrading an operating system, right? And so it's like, what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on that nocebo? Because and then you bring it back to what you said about most cancer patients. Many are already on antidepressants. Many people with heart disease and hypertension, they have a level of depression. And it's not like many of us don't have a little bit, but that's kind of normal. But it's like, do you focus more on the negative? Do you focus more on the positive? And it's not just like, affirmations. It's really like, what are you emotionally around for? I know so many people who are what are you emotionally invested in? And whenever I talk to you, it's like you're just so full of life, right? And it's like you're emotionally invested in how amazing your life is, how amazing you are helping other people's lives to be, and what you can do next to make the life that we all experience together even better. And I think that that's a critical piece. It's not that you didn't do some chemo. It's not that you didn't do some of the medicine. It's not that you don't need the ER or a surgeon. It's, yes, I'll use those when I need them. And I'm also going to focus on what I really want to have in my life, which is that the other side of the coin, so to speak.
Wonderful. And thank you so much for saying that. There's one thing that kind of jumps to mind, and this kind of goes back over 300 years ago, literally over 300 years ago, with when the foundation of modern medicine, literally what happened was with the beginning of empiricism and reductionism. In other words, bringing it down to a single controlled reaction outside of the context of everything else, which is not how life happens. There's an expression in vivo life and in vitro. And frequently those things that in vitro, for example, in petri dishes that grow, say resistant or sensitive to certain drug or organism, does not behave the same way in vivo, in life. And that seems to be the general pattern of things. So if you really want to look at the humanity, if you really want to see yourself, you really got to step back literally and just look at yourself on many layers, many levels. Where are you specifically with regard to your, do you know what your spirit and soul levels, do you know what your authentic self is? Do you know why you're here? Do you know what makes you happy? Can you see yourself beyond your physical body, beyond the transient and passing thoughts, feelings, and emotions? By the way, emotion, energy and emotion, powerful stuff, man. Yeah. We have tremendous power and we have tremendous healing. Every aspect of healing, everything that happens, it's not because of the drug, it's not because of the surgery, it's not because of the medicine. Those are adjuncts. And that's all part of holism. As you said, emergency room is useful. Specialists are useful. Chronic care can be helpful, especially if a person is not going to help themselves but for those who want to take charge of their life, the conventional system is not the place to be. It literally is not.
You just reminded me of a thing I've told people for a long time, and I might have gotten out of it in the last couple of years, but I spend like 1/1,000,000% of your life with you as your physician, and you spend all of your life with you. So who do you think has more responsibility, and who do you think has more power to make a difference in your life? We're here to guide you, right? And share the best knowledge we have in all aspects of the healing you need. But man, think about it. It's just like, getting to that next place, creating your outcomes. I think about it like, if we're all living and breathing in another year, or even, like you said, another day, another week, another couple minutes, we're getting results. So do you want those results by default, or would you prefer to design those results? And it's like, to me, when you have a goal, when you have something that you emotionally love doing that you're thinking about, because it's like, when I hear your story, I'm reminded of my own. I've got Lyme and Babesia. I didn't know it. So back in the day, I had Lyme, got treated for 10 days. The guy said, I'm going to be fine. And I kind of was until I had depression. And then I was, it's this hypomania thing. Oh, no, none of those meds work. You don't really have that. You've got like ADHD, you've got this and that. And then eventually I go, hey, to my primary, I go, I've got brain fog, fatigue, and joint pain. And he's like, oh, I know what you have. You have fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. Like you literally just diagnosed me with a thing that is a description of what I have. Not, it doesn't tell me why I'm sick, and it doesn't tell me how to get better. So I kind of remember very clearly, Sergey, I was standing in our third year in medical school. I'm staring at the wall in this cute little apartment we lived in. And I was just like, I have shit to do. I have shit to do in my life. It's like, I want to have a family. I'm newly married. Like I envision us playing outside. I loved ultimate frisbee, love hiking and mountain biking and skiing. And I was like so overwhelmed with the emotion of it happening. And so the thing is, on those days where you can't move forward or it doesn't feel like you can, if when you focus your energy on the negative, you get more and more negative energy, you get drawn down. If you focus your energy on this outcome that you're eventually going to have and the positives in your day, it's going to uplift you. Now, some days that's going to be a shitload of energy, and other days it's going to be really small and minute. But the thing is, it's just like the more you focus, it's like, hey, you have chronic illness. You have cancer, maybe you have Lyme, and those things are in your body, but that's not who you are. It doesn't define you. So if you are to change the way your focus is, it's not to pretend and negate these things are there. You do the things, but it's to free yourself from having to focus on them constantly, because the thing you focus on most consistently is the thing you create more of in your life.
I'd like to jump in. Brilliant. Thank you. I appreciate you very, very much. I mean, there's quite a bit to reflect on, and I'd like to take that opportunity. So we talked, you mentioned something about the reality, not ignoring the reality. One of the questions that I ask my patients and whoever, or friends or family, whoever I come across who's willing to listen, is the truth. What is your truth? Because the way the person defines their truth, and this is an interesting concept, is generally, frequently their opinion, their upbringing, their training, their baggage that comes from whatever patterns that maybe some of them may be good, maybe useful. Some of them are not. Most of them are not. Most of us grow up in dysfunctional families, dysfunctional society. And by the way, by definition, society is dysfunctional by every mean. Medical healthcare system is dysfunctional. And by the way, since 2019, I've realized that pretty much everything that I've seen in the healthcare field, I'm going to make a controversial statement, is pretty much a blatant lie. From all the agencies to all of the rules and regulations, and I'm not going to say all, but a lot of the protocols, a lot of it is complete BS. And I'm not talking about bowel sounds. I'm just being completely frank and outspoken here. I still work emergency room. I still do primary care. I see the stuff so clear now. It's not. I mean, it's incredible. Talk about truth. I'd like to get into that. What is the truth? And Tom, please, I would love your perspective on this. I mean, I think this is going to be a good conversation. There is the truth ultimately is what is. It doesn't have to be pleasant. It doesn't have to be good, kind. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. One of the examples I use is that that it could be the truth is if it's raining, it's wet outside. There's raindrops coming down. Now, let's say Tom and I disagree, and let's say I believe that there is no rain, whereas that's my belief system, that's my truth. As soon as I step outside, those raindrops are going to hit me, and if I don't have an umbrella or if I don't enjoy the rain, I'm going to say, "Hey, what's going on?" And then I'm going to be taken by surprise, and I say, "Oh my God, it's raining." The truth is going to hit me one way or another, and no matter how I try to hide from it, run away from it. So the truth is the reality. And to say the reality is what it is it doesn't mean it's bad. A lot of bad things happen. I saw a lot of sick people today. A lot of, I saw things, I've seen things today that I wish I didn't see, literally. For some of them, the outcomes might not be good, as a matter of fact.
Right.
Do our best. The truth is, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to do about it? And who are you? Because if you see yourself as a physical being on the physical level, which is where the conventional medicine literally exists, unless you talk about psychiatry, in which case you're isolated to the mental and emotional, and they have no idea what to do with it anyhow, but that's okay, because it doesn't matter. It's all negative, or it's all external, I should say. You've got this situation where you've got to realize the truth, the feedback, what is the environment, what's happening in your body, what are you doing? Be honest, be frank with yourself. I have to be frank with myself for the stupid stuff that I've done. I mean, I literally, we talk about the near-death, life-threatening experiences, seeing light, so to speak. I mean, I crashed the vehicle about a year ago at over 100 miles an hour. I mean, pure stupidity, and I have to take responsibility for that. There was no need for that. Absolutely no need. I made an excuse. I was going to the clinic, so on and so forth. No, I just like to drive fast. That's what it is. So basically, and it cost me. And I was nearly paralyzed from the lumbar third down. But I also learned from that experience that it was a wonderful experience. And I was told I wasn't going to walk until a certain time. It would take me 6 months to get to basic general baseline. And then for me to get back into sports and activities, I've always been into that. It would be almost a year or so. I made a decision. I'm going back to work emergency room wise within 4 weeks. I had a shift scheduled. I was going to keep it. I did. I drove myself 3 hours after having, basically titanium in my spine and before, and I did what I had to do. And then, and I'm basically at this point, I've accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish, including a purple belt in a Goju karate system. And I'm supposed to be learning how to walk, literally. So it's just.
So you've done this more than one time.
Yes. Yes.
So I mean, but like I'm just saying, it's like it's interesting. It's like cancer.
This wrist was annihilated in another car accident. This was not supposed to be functional.
Well, right, and this is what I mean. It's not that like we make some mistakes. Sometimes maybe we should slow down a little bit, or we should eat a little differently, whatever it might be. But the thing is, like, despite all the things that come your way that most would hold most people down, you've recovered from multiple different unfortunate events. Really well to be articulate and active and mobile when you're not supposed to be. So that's where I really love is like your energy, your focus, the work you're doing, and the example that you're setting for people, because that's really to me so critical is that we need to be focusing on those things that actually work. And again, going back to working with people who have actually gotten results themselves, gotten results for other people, continue to get the results. And so, I mean, like, one might ask you why you continue to go down this road of hurting yourself that way, but maybe it's just you have another story of how to get better.
Yes.
But
well, let's put it this way. When after the last accident, I realized that I like being married. I like my house. I like doing the work that I do. I love being functional in this world, and I love being of service. So at this point, the stupidities are, if something happens, it won't be on my account. Let's put it that way, at the very least. Tom, you are also an inspirational story for folks in general. But for example, you have to be also very careful with cancer is not the only thing out there. Lyme disease is one of the worst things that I've come across, and you're absolutely right. Most of my Lyme patients, chronic Lyme patients, they will get better, then they get worse. And I think, and I'm very open with my clients, is a lot of them are not willing to get better. In other words, they get better enough, and then they fall back into the identity or the label of what they were told and what they believe and what became their operating system. That operating system has to go.
It's an interesting thing to bring up because I find that, and this is not like a personality judgment on people. This is just an objective observation that because like to me, one of the things that, and I wonder what you've seen, Sergey, is in the Lyme world, if you will, we talk a lot about parasites, right?
Yes.
And a parasite's kind of an interesting thing, because a lot of people are, they're looking for this thing to come out of the rear end or something. They take an anti-parasitic and they get rid of some kind of worm. But I love definitions. And so parasites are organisms that live in or on another organism that's a different species, right? And it benefits by essentially deriving its nutrients from the host at its expense. So now let's look at that a little bit from the perspective of our emotions. I think one of the biggest sort of things with Lyme, or just in general, this chronic infections that get with people is, Yes, there are real parasites. Yes, there are real organisms that are sucking nutrients from us and essentially trying to kill us. But one of the biggest parasites that we have is our emotional state. Because when we're focused, again, going back to the thing we don't want, we're literally sucking our own energy out, right? And so recently we had an elderly cat that passed, and we had to make the decision to support those last moments in sort of a more humane way. And that's what our family decided due to the severity of the medical condition and the pain associated. And it all felt like we're doing the right thing, but emotionally, it still was draining, right? And I remember years ago, my old man was sick. But he was doing all right. And then one day I get a call from my mom, like, it's not all right. And literally within a day we were in hospice, and within 2.5 days, the whole family was there and he passed away. And it was a long, steady decline, but the end was relatively quick, and we weren't like suffering, trying to make decisions. It was actually very clear what to do. And then he naturally passed. But I remember very clearly, it took me 18 months. And my dad was so sick. Like, he was just suffering so much. I mean, he had his Alzheimer's and kidney disease was so bad. He would shave his face for 2.5 hours with an electric razor until it bled. He would brush his teeth for hours until they bled. And you couldn't stop him. And it was like, and my mom was getting sicker and sicker and losing weight because she was caring so much for the other person that she didn't care for herself first. So it was a blessing when he passed, right? Do I miss him? Yeah, but it was a blessing. It took me over 18 months to regain energy over something I defined as emotional, but overall good. So now just think about, like, I was completely healthy at this point, and I needed 18 months of a little bit of a season of lower energy to go through this appropriately. And I didn't fight it. I just let it be. And what I really want to point out is, imagine if I had focused on how bad it was that his life ended, and he should have been around for another 5 or 10 years. I fought the reality of what was going on. Think about, I had shit energy when I was totally cool with it, and I was just naturally going through the process that was supposed to happen after that event. So whether it was my Lyme disease and my babesia, my heavy metal toxicity, or my dad's passing, if I go with the flow and do the things I need to do, which is slow down when I need to slow down, speed up when I need to speed up, have a little bit of crappy food and an extra piece of pizza or something when I'm not, maybe I don't eat that all the time, but I just went with the flow, that still needed to chill a little bit. So now if you're fighting the reality of what's going on in front of you, rather than accepting it and taking appropriate action at that time. And the other thing too is, I think about this a lot, Sergey, when people are saying, I shouldn't be doing this. Like this the whole thing back in the day, people were like, don't should on yourself, right? It's like literally, like, yes, we understand that we shouldn't eat pizza every day, right? But if you're feeling like crap, and I don't know where we're going to eat later tonight, I think we have a nice healthy meal plan. But if somebody goes, hey, I think, the cat's not here tonight and she was yesterday, so I'm kind of feeling pretty shitty. You want to have some ice cream and some pizza? I'm probably going to say, yeah.
Absolutely.
Right?
Enjoy. Absolutely. Doctor's orders.
But I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I'm going to go back tomorrow to my regular plan. And the sicker you are, obviously, the less flexibility you have most of the time. But don't beat yourself up. Don't be your own worst parasite, right? Don't don't suck energy away from yourself. Like I say, no one can take my energy away from me. There is no such thing as an energy vampire except me.
So responsibility. Thank you. The word, we have a couple of things in common. I love words as well, by the way. The word responsibility, literally break it up, responsibility, ability to respond, having the tools, the strength, the courage, and the desire, the willingness to stand up or whatever you got to do and get it done. Responsibility. I want to share something with you, if you don't mind. I'll just put this up here. This is what we give to every patient in our practice. I hope this comes across pretty clear. Let's see. Okay, how am I feeling? This is our philosophy on life. So how am I feeling? Am I good? Am I happy? the smiley face. Great. If you're enjoying life, enjoy, live it. Good. If it's not, oops, excuse me. If you, okay, I got to learn how to do this. Okay, hold on.
It's looking great.
Yeah, if you got, I gotta practice a little more. But so if it's not perfect, what are you gonna do about it? Can you do something right here, right now, to fix it, to make it better, right here, right now? If you're willing and able to do something about it, do it. Physically, mentally, emotionally, legally, whatever. Take action. Do what you need to do, and then let it go. Let it go, literally. Now, let's say there's a case scenario or situation where you have no power over it. Let's say I used to go crazy over politics earlier, or lots of other stuff. I really don't give a damn. Boom, exactly. I mean, there's nothing I can do about politicians. There's nothing I can do about a lot of stuff that's happening in the world, but I can help my patients. I can keep my positive mindset. I can learn. I can have, well, the best life possible. I'm going to put this down actually, because it's going to pull over the place, but that's the whole concept. Detach. Let go of the crap of your life. Don't carry that. One of the favorite expressions from Dr. Shealy, my mentor and my dad actually, is you have to go through trauma, but you don't have to wallow in the manure. Literally, go through it. Don't spend more time there than you have to. Recognize it. Become aware. Move on. Go to where you need to be.
Interesting question. It just popped up. Like why would Norm go through the process of adopting like a grown man? Like
that's what the judge said. Hey, why are you doing this, guys? Why would a grown man need to be adopted? Thank you for asking the question. This was actually a very interesting, amazing concept. So again, a little something about myself. A lot of my own personal issues, and I'm gonna tie this in into my own situation, is my behaviors and my issues leading to the cancer and leading to a lot of my behavioral stuff, including driving fast. I don't have too many bad habits, but that's one of them. And so on and so forth, being reckless with certain things, taking too many risks, and then again, being an ER doc, I guess I have a certain personality, but, so I guess the kind of goes with that. I'm rearranging that. There's a way to learn, reprogram. And that's the work I'm doing. But, literally it's sorry, I left my track of thought there, but it's been a long day. Bring me back, please.
Oh yeah, no, I was just talking about why you two would want to do this.
Yeah, the adoption. Yeah, thank you. So I knew there was a good question. Dr. Norm Shealy, founding father of holistic medicine, literally created the field out of nowhere. Literally, I mean, I shouldn't say out of nowhere. Everything comes from somewhere, but he literally brought it back to life. And so his concept, his idea was physical things such as nutrition, supplements, lifestyle, huge focus on lifestyle, huge focus on stress management, which is mental, emotional, biogenics, autogenic training, ways to really relearn, reintegrate sympathetic, parasympathetic, fight or flight, how we respond, and literally give us back the option, the power, the choice over our life, the decisions. I am in charge of me. And then it further and onwards. But the biggest discovery that he made was literally bringing back the spirit and the soul back into medicine, remembering who the person is. And this is something that I instinctively knew when I was a kid. So, and the other thing about it, and this is how beautiful this whole life is. Most of my life patterns have come out of certain feeling of inadequacy and issues related to my own father biologically. And I didn't understand the situation at the time, but the childhood trauma has led me into certain behaviors and actions and patterns that have caused a lot of pain. It's still causing some pain from time to time, but I recognize and I catch it within minutes as opposed to within years. And so Norm, being the founding father of holistic medicine, when the opportunity and when this came up, he just felt right. It's literally finding a father, a mentor, a man who's literally a father figure to me, but also in the professional sense, in the sense of the awakening, and literally just, this is my heritage. And the heritage is an interesting thing, because I want to talk about heritage. We all have a heritage. We talked about the blueprint and made in the image and likeness of the creator, with capacity to co-create, responsibility to co-create. literally responsibility. And if we do, great. If we don't, that's on us. So everything that every single person, no matter how bad off you are, no matter what challenges, difficulties, physical, mental, emotional, health, your heritage is that of divinity. Your heritage is that of holy spirit, soul, mind, body. You're stronger. You're more powerful than all this. That's freedom. That's power. That's where all this comes in. And I think I'm getting towards the main topic here as what we're talking about. If you want the secret to ultimate freedom, ultimate power, ultimate capacity, ultimate life, literally, I'm getting excited here, but I like this actually, is realize who you are. Come back, remember, reclaim your heritage. Complete human.
It's so interesting because I love the opportunity to ask that question, because when I hear what you guys did, one of the things that jumps out for me is that connection that you guys have, and how I love going back. Like for me too, I've known this since I was a kid, you know. But one other thing I love to point out, or I should say, and one other thing I like to point out, is that you guys wanted to do it.
Yes.
And that's good enough. Like, I was brought up to, like, anything I wanted, I was supposed to then justify to other people why I wanted it. If you want to be healthy, you're allowed to be healthy. If you want to do, you know, if you want to get adopted when you're in your 40s, you can do that, right?
Yes.
I mean, to me, it's just like, I just don't want, I have these basic rules, like, don't, like, shit on other people, right? Don't, like, I would just prefer that we each can be free to do the things that we want to do without having to justify them, as long as we're not taking away another's freedom to do the same, like, you know, popping them in the head with a bullet or something, or, you know, or whatever. I mean, but, like, a lot of people, I think, like, they say, hey, I want this, and then immediately they start going, oh, well, and they have to justify it to other people, or worse, you have to justify it to yourself. You are worthy of healing. You are worthy to be the person who gets what they want in their health, right? And, you know, and that's why I just think it's so cool. Like, you're just like, oh yeah, you know, we just did it. We had an opportunity and we wanted to do it, so we did it. And it's like, there, like, in your voice, there's nothing you're not apologetic about it. And I asked a little bit about a story, you know, so it minor justification, but it was more like the story of how it happened. You didn't justify it to the judge. You didn't justify it to anybody.
Yes.
And so when you want something for your healing, it's like, hey, maybe I want $1 million home, or maybe I want a steak dinner. Like, it's okay to want that. And I think that it's important to bring in, allowing yourself to want the things you want. And some are realistic and some are bad. And it's like the ice cream. Like, every once in a blue moon, if you don't have, like, a serious dairy allergy, maybe it's okay, you know? And just because you want something doesn't mean you have to go get it either. But just stop justifying your wants. Just allow yourself to be you. Like you were saying, get and connect again with who you are. And what I find is, most people, when they first say that, like, oh, well, I want this, and this, and it's all this material stuff, right? But when you live a life where you're okay with not only wanting something, maybe even more important is receiving it. When you receive that, then and you said something way at the beginning, is as you receive, you remember your divinity. You remember the perfection of your health, of your life, of your spirit right now. So the only reason we're not perfect right now is we don't remember it. There's a veil in front of us.
And that's exactly it. And that was actually my lesson when well, the good thing about, you know, having had that entire journey is when I popped out of my body, literally, in the car accident. I had a couple of car accidents. So the first time I popped out of my body, you know, it was a bunch of years ago. That's when I annihilated this wrist, or so I thought. And literally floating above and just watching the bloody mess down below, just seeing, wow, that looks terrible. That guy's going to need help. Hey, wait a second. That's Sergey. Wait a second. If that's Sergey, what am I? And then all of a sudden, boom. It's like, and again, I don't know how long in physical time it took, but the download, the realization, like I said, I have no question. I am a spiritual being. I am a soul. I know that. When my physical life is done, I'm okay with that too. But I still got this vessel. I still got this body. I got this responsibility and opportunity to do something wonderful, productive, to help others, to enjoy, to learn, to just be. Literally just be. If I do nothing else, I can just be. And that kind of knowledge, that kind of power, I mean, nobody can take that away from me now.
I know, I love it. Yeah, there's like the all-time one of the greatest questions ever in the chat right now, right? I'm so thankful to Linda, and got to give her a shout out, because saying this is all great at a high level, but how do you get started? Because I think that you and I sit here and we're like, oh my God, this is like our whole lives have been like on this journey to do this, and part of that journey
finally
is to share
arrived
with
at the
others.
level where we can see the big picture. Boom. Yes.
Right. And so what are some of the, and one thing I want to point out to everybody, definitely, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that, because Sergey and I are doing, I made a separate playlist. We're going to start dripping out different content on the ultimate freedom and different things that really resonate with both of us. We'll do some things together, some things separate, probably most of it together, because I love chatting with Sergey. We have one up already. We have a new one coming up tomorrow morning, so check back tomorrow. But yeah, let's really, like, as we wrap this together tonight, and I just appreciate everybody joining us. It's different times at different places, and the beauty of this platform is that it's going to be out here for everybody to continue to come back to, share with their friends. But what are some of the tips that you use for people who want to get started, right? I mean, because when you're so sick, or you just haven't practiced this way before, how do we start working on this? Step one.
Okay. Step one, let's first and foremost, I ask the person, what is your goal? What do you want to do? And I actually, in our radio program, we have radio segments that we do every week. It's called Wellness Wednesdays. By the way, would love to have you on. You already got a spot on it. Basically, every spot that you want is yours. I mean, literally, we just got to get the technology in the way. So I did a series of several radio shows on the topics. And the first one in this specific series was setting intention. Literally setting intention. Write down on a piece of paper or however else. I like the idea of paper because it's old-fashioned. You're kinesthetic. You're doing things. It's all, the old-fashioned stuff makes sense. I mean, that's how the body physiology works. We used to move our bodies, literally. That's how but more on that later. But so get started. Who are you? What do you want? Why is this important to you? Write out the why behind, not even the what or how, the why. And my why was basically, it was the biggest picture of them all. The how followed, the what followed. I didn't know at the time what I was doing. That's when I started going to conferences. That's when I started learning about holistic. That's when I said, oh shit, my diet sucks. That's probably one of the main reasons. I totally changed that. I changed my exercise routine. I realized I was stressed out beyond anything, and so I cut that out. Which then led to divorce, because my marriage lifestyle was at that point all stress.
Changed,
and we were both there. And so when I dropped out, guess what? I dropped out of the marriage. So I do take responsibility for my actions in that. I mean, of course, there's two players, but start out with honest assessment of where you are, how you got there, and what you want. Take note and acknowledge all the things that you're doing right, but also all the things that you could do better. Don't judge yourself, literally. If we talk about lifestyle, nutrition, garbage in, garbage out, guess what? You can stop putting the garbage in any given moment. You can learn from that experience. Everything that we go through is supposed to be a lesson. What are your lessons so far from the past? What have you accumulated that you want to take away, and what are you going to leave? Because of this current moment, you got to move forward. This is when it starts. New decision, new timeline, new you. That's what it's all about. Future, which is what a lot of people worry about. You have 2 years to live, or you'll be suffering with this and this and that. We don't know what the future holds. We know the possibilities of the future, but we literally create our future within every single moment. We co-create. What do we co-create? Where's your sight? Where's your vision? That's the number one. Now, once you have that, then the next step is to work on the mind, feelings, emotions. That's when we bring in the techniques that we use. And I know you've got wonderful techniques of that in your practice. In our practice, for example, we have over 36,000 successful outcomes with something called biogenics. Self-regulation, retraining, over 68 various exercises on various levels, physical biofeedback, mental, emotional, like, for example, tolerance, forgiveness, acceptance, but also who am I? I have a physical body, and I'm more than my physical body, Remember, and not but. I have my thoughts, feelings, and emotions, energy and motion. And I am more than that. I am a spiritual being. I'm a soul, I'm a spirit, and I am free to choose the patterns of my life. And that's what it is. Once you get into the patterns, there's a lot of stuff that we can do, a lot of tools, a lot of things based on the condition, based on who you're working with, and different providers have fantastic results based on their methods. And you'll find the provider that was right for you. I mean, just somebody who fits your personality, your the stage of illness and disease, but also your philosophy in life. But the bottom line is the how and the what is going to come. Just keep an open mind, open heart, and just know where you're going.
I love it. It's so good. And when I give people structures, places to start to think this way, there's so many different pieces. And as you alluded to earlier, I'm going to share one of the things I do. Anybody who knows me, I love to complicate things. I'm just like the king of complicating things, just because I get really into it, right? So I have like these journals and this journaling and writing out my whole life and the story and going back and rechanging it. And the thing is, you write your own story. If there's something in your past you don't like, you can just go back and look at it, not re-experience everything, but look at it in a way that's where you choose what back in the day you assigned a meaning to it. You can assign a new meaning to it today. Like after my dad died, I actually did an exercise that I had no idea had anything to do with him, and I just had a moment where I reflected, and I realized there's a moment in high school where it was the first time in my life that I believe he truly was doing what I had always asked him to do. And I basically flipped him the bird when he did it because it embarrassed me and I didn't see it. So rather than continuing to live with this, I just said, you know what? Oh, I didn't realize that at the time. I realize it now. Cool. And then my relationship just started changing. Like my old man's dead, and my relationship gets better with him every day. And it's like whether or not you believe you can still communicate with them, or they're around in heaven or hell or somewhere else, or there's whatever, doesn't matter, because it's what lives on in your heart. And so when we bring that to the present day and we really boil it down to action we can take, I simplified it, and Dan Sullivan. And Dr. Ben Hardy wrote a book called The Gap and the Gain. And I was just like, wow, it's so simple. Why don't we just stop doing all this 5 pages of journaling every morning and every night? And, I do my meditation, I do my this and that, I do my breathing. I have all kinds of cool practices I love. But the simplest way to do it is at the end of your day, in the last 4 or 5 minutes of the day, write down your 3 wins that you had today. Doesn't matter how big or how small. And the win could be, you may be having a tough day. The win could be a lesson that you're choosing to take from your day, right? And it's just like any little thing. It doesn't have to be a big win. It just has to be a win. Because what happens is when you move yourself out of the negative and into a positive, you move from the sympathetic state to parasympathetic. Now, every day is not going to be easy. And every day, and in the beginning, it likely will not just be like, oh my God, I got it, right? So you write down 3 wins for today. You start to get a little more parasympathetic. Over time, you're going to start to feel more gratitude for it, which is the emotion and the receiving of the win. You don't have to do that in the beginning. It just naturally comes. Now, the next step is where it gets really cool. I'm going to ask that you create 3 wins for tomorrow. You preordain what's going to go right tomorrow. And the reason I say that is if you say like, hey, I'm going to have this health outcome. I'm going to walk an extra quarter of a mile tomorrow. If you've had a challenge with that, or I'm going to pass on the ice cream or the cookie, your brain is automatically, while your conscious mind is automatically going to go back to what is your pattern been? What is your habitual pattern? Oh no, you're not going to do that because you always eat the cookie. Oh no, you're not, because your knees or your lungs are going to give out before you get that extra quarter mile. So the beauty is, as you do this, now you go to sleep. Sleep is a little easier because over time you get a little more parasympathetic, a little more chill. Now when you go to sleep and you dissociate from your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, which at this point should really be called superconscious, because it's totally connected to life, totally connected to God, the universe, whatever word is for you, but that life that's greater than us has created all this and, flows to and through us, will then allow your subconscious, superconscious mind to create that possibility. And you'll be open to new ways for it to happen. The reason things don't happen the way we want them to happen a lot is because we're cut off to them happening in the way they are supposed to happen. We're like, they're supposed to be this way. So be open by sleeping. And then you wake up the next morning, you read the 3 wins you had from yesterday, and you just get a little more gratitude. You don't even have to try. It just happens. Oh my God, yesterday. Oh yeah, that was a pretty good win. And then you go, oh, today, all this cool stuff is going to happen. And you do it when you first wake up because you're in that state moving from delta into, through theta
Delta,
and alpha.
theta, beta.
Yes.
And so the beta, I love that stuff. Yeah,
and so, like you said earlier, Sergey, because then I want to hear what you feel about all this, because I'm taking a simple topic and, like I said, making it complex. So I'll summarize in a second, is that the more you do this, the more you realize it actually happens. And you start to easily create your day. So at the end of the day, write down 3 wins, no matter how big or small from the day. Write down 3 wins you're going to have tomorrow. Read them over one more time. That's it. Should take you no more than 3 or 4 minutes. And then you take a deep breath and lie down and go to bed. You wake up the next morning when you're still in that kind of groggy state. It's a perfect time to go, oh, look what happened yesterday, because you're reprogramming yourself when you're in the proper mindset. Most of us are trying to reprogram our brains when we're all wound up. It's not how the operating system gets rebooted. It gets rebooted at the end of the day and the beginning of the day. So I end my day, it's like I basically end my day by starting my day well, and I start my day tomorrow by ending my day well today.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. By the way, that practice, I've adopted it ever since we talked, and I've been doing it. Well, not every day, because I'll be frank, there's some mornings I woke up and I'm like, okay. But that's habit. Okay, so couple of things. Thank you. And I'd like to reflect on a couple of things you mentioned. Blueprint, the original concept of what we talked about in the blueprint of the health, spirit, soul, mind, body, but also in what we're supposed to be doing for ourselves. Lifestyle, basically chronic, managing chronic stress or not having chronic stress, I should say, because you don't want to manage that actually for the rest of your life. The key is habits. It takes 2 to 3 months to create a habit. You have to remember that. It's difficult for the time. It's really difficult. I started getting back into exercise, and I was always into exercise, but after my injury, it's like it was terrible. I had to really retrain myself to start doing some simple things, and ultimately I got back into it. But it also takes up to a year to create a lifestyle. When you have a lifestyle, you are who you are. In other words, if you're a meditator, you meditate. You'll do it regardless. You'll do it because it feels good, not because it's a chore. You'll wake up. You'll eat properly. You'll sleep well. You'll take care of yourself. You'll stay away from things that are harmful. Why? Because that's who you are. That doesn't, all those things don't belong to you. The illness doesn't belong to you. And if you have an illness or dis-ease, lack of ease, you take the dis and you say, hey, that doesn't belong here. What is the pattern that led to this thing right here? And what pattern of behavior, of habits, what habits do I need to unlearn? What do I need to change? And the other thing that I work with is visualization. And not to say to live in the future, but there's a number of exercises such as, for example, one of my favorites, personal favorites, is end of life journey, where I literally take the most anxious, frustrated, angry person that has lots of stuff, and I literally put them on their deathbed in the mild hypnotic state. Literally, I put them on their deathbed, and I tell them, "Here you are. You're dead. You're at some point in your life. You may be 90, you may be 60, you may be a day from now, based on your behavior. Are you happy? Did you live a full life? Is this the life that you want?" And I haven't had a single person so far. Yes, this is perfect, because they're there for therapy, technically, so they're not happy. Nobody pays for things that they don't need, really. So, right. It's quite a charge. It's not cheap, so it's worth it. The interesting thing is when they realize that they're going in the wrong direction, they're in the wrong freaking forest, literally. And then you get them to go back to their present time and to go back and to look at the big picture. I'm kind of giving away a little trade secret here, but I mean, it works so well. And I just want to share this stuff, it's just fantastic. And the key is you analyze and you look at what is the pattern that got you there? What is the pattern that's resulting in the outcomes that you're having? Because it's simple: action, outcome, action, outcome. 1 + 2 = 3. It's not going to change. If you want to change something, if you want 4, you have to have 2 + 2 or something of that nature, another combination. So literally, you have to take personal action. You have to take responsibility. And I mean, there's so much I can mention on this, but I'd love to. Tom,
yeah,
I know I can see from your eyes you've got something to say on this. I mean, this is please.
No, I mean, this is just one of those things that I think is so critical. There's so many ways to do it.
Yes.
And you find one thing that you're committed to doing. Yes. And start it, because a lot of it is like, even like I was saying, like, I love the simplicity of this 3 and 3 at night and 3 and 3 in the morning, and that's 6 and 6, which is 66. You need 66 days to create the habit for the rest of your life. Super cool and all. I could have just said that a long time ago, but we get excited about things. Find one thing that excites you that Sergey and I've talked about, or your practitioner talks about, and pick one thing and do it. Like, I talk a lot about all these different aspects of things you can do. And one of the things that, as excited professionals who've recovered and want to help you recover, we have to remember to give you one tool, and then to help you do that one thing well. Because when you scatter around is where you don't get it. And so I think if I go back to my healing journey, right after I said, I've got shit to do, like I know what I want to do in my future. I was so mad. It was like kicking and screaming. This is not going to take this away from me, right? I am going to live this life. I was so motivated. Within like a couple days, a friend of mine handed me a DVD, and it said Power Yoga with Brian Kest. And I do this yoga, and I'm like, I tried yoga in college, and this is not that kind of yoga. And I go, I think there's something to this. But then the breathing it was like, when you go backwards, you inhale. When you go forward, you exhale, which is like, right? You're like, the look on your face, it's like not right. So then I dug further, and I said, at the end, I said, this is something, I'm on to something here. Ashtanga Yoga Research Institute. We got to the end, and I said, I'm going to learn that. And when I got that, the breathing was like physical movement on breath. That allowed me to bring my mind down. But what the power of what happened was, I focused on doing yoga. Ultimately, once I did their rules were 6 days a week, Saturdays are off, and the new full moon are off. We're respecting our relationship with nature and how much water is in our body. And also, the 1 day a week off was to not become addicted to the practice. So in the beginning, I could do like 5 or 10 minutes. Ultimately, I worked my way up to an hour and a half of yoga a day for almost 2 years straight. So I did one thing as well as I could in the beginning. And in the beginning, it was bad. From the outside, it was bad. But they said, just follow the process. So I did 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And ultimately, it became this thing. Along my healing journey, all of a sudden, my body goes, you know what? Coca-Cola, not a food group. All of a sudden it goes, hey, all that pasta and vegetables you're eating, well, the pasta's not all that good. But no one was teaching us about nutrition back then, right? So I started to just gravitate towards more of a Paleolithic diet before I'd even heard of the term. But it wasn't because I did a bunch of things. It was because I picked one thing and I did it to the best I could on any given day. And some days it was great, and and that's the other part too. When you start to do it, you get into it, this is great, this is my one thing. You're probably going to have crappy days. It's going to be crappy, good, crappy, whatever it is. It's going to happen. So learn to not judge the day, but again, to just accept the way it is. And for me, that was huge.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Actually, this is great stuff. A couple of things that really jumped out at me here, and I'd like to mention the zigzag. What you're talking about, the up, the down, the good, the bad. There's actually a purpose to this. It's good. It's not bad. It's good. Why? When we're learning a new habit, when we're learning a new pathway, new pattern, basically it takes time to break the previous pattern, change the previous pattern, neuroplasticity of the brain. It's an ongoing process, and you have to continue moving forward. But how do you know that you're in the new place unless aware of your mistakes? Mistakes are not problems. Mistakes are opportunities. They're lessons. It's a gift. And the best, I'll take a mistake over a victory anytime, especially if I can learn from it. I mean, that's the best lesson ever. And I've had plenty. The other thing is, I love what you're saying, because once you clear your mind, once you open yourself to possibilities, you get pearls along the way. You have things that you never even considered are out there, but they've been there all along, like the glasses that are sitting on the top of your head and you're still looking for them. Literally good example. Tom, I just have to say, have this is an incredible opportunity to express this and to have this conversation with you. Literally, freedom and power, personal optimization of life and health and wellness and relationships and everything that is worth it, everything that is good. The reason why we're here. That's what it's all about. It's about living our best life. And if we're not, who is in charge? We are. Freedom. Right. You want to be free? Open your world. Allow for the possibility you are more than anything that you've ever known before. You're more powerful. You're more sacred. I mean, you've got this incredible heritage, divinity. You're holy, truly. You can do incredible things if you, set the intention, follow through, put the energy in. Human beings have so much potential, and we are literally taught and beaten down by the society in that we are hopeless, we're helpless, we need help, we need the drugs, we need medicine, we need the pharma industry, we need this, we need that. Pretty much everything we need is inside, within us.
Brother, I love it so much. And one last little piece that I saw, because I want to respect your time and so grateful for everybody being here. Ginny was saying, hey, I started doing she was doing the 3 and 3 and it's growing on her, but after a few weeks, she started to have fun with it. And I think that's so brilliant. Find something that enlightens you, picks you up, that's fun. Doesn't have to be hard. One of the things I love teaching people is if you see a thing, problem, challenge, thing you want to do, whatever you want to call it, pick the easiest part of it and do that. Because one, you're going to find the easy thing just makes it all happen, or it's going to give you the momentum you need. So we could talk about this forever, Sergey. And as I mentioned a little while ago, we're going to be doing the Ultimate Freedom here and there. We're going to be dropping some videos for you guys. Just keep us posted on the things that you're interested in. Like our videos, subscribe, and to my YouTube channel here so that you can get more of these. You'll get the first notifications. I put up Dr. Sergey's YouTube link so you can check out Wellness Wednesdays and all the other amazing stuff they have on their channel. Get over there, like and subscribe to those guys. And really just share with your friends, because this year, like I said, for Lyme Awareness Month, rather than just teaching you more of the mechanics, which are important, we have those resources over at originsofhealth.com. And Sergey, before we sign out, I want to make sure you can let everybody know where they can find you. But all of these things are really important. But again, how do we get going? Like to Linda's question, where do we get started? Because so many of us are telling you, oh, this is the way to do it. They do this and do that. And it's like, then you get overwhelmed. Find that one thing and use these tools to ingrain it, And when you're working on your protocols, and it could just be that your win is that you follow your protocol a little bit more precisely than the day before. That's sick. Go have fun with it. Go out there, live your best life, enjoy all this, and so much more to come from us. So, Sergey, as we sign out, where can everybody find out more about you?
Oh, absolutely. The website is Real Holistic Doc, RealHolisticDoc. By the way, I have some fun here, basically with some people.
And I posted that for everybody. So
yeah, Real Holistic Doc. Actually, the doc for a version actually on a spell. If you dictate, it comes up as a duck, as an animal. Quack quack. So I love that, and I love that concept, and I'd like to say that here because I know inadvertently it turned out to be absolutely wonderful. Because holistic medicine, a lot of folks, and I'll just come out straight with it. A lot of folks think that what we do, what we talk about, spirit, soul, mind, body, the entire being. There's this word is called quackery. You quack this, quack that. I love that. I love that.
I was totally wondering where you were going with this duck thing. That's brilliant, brother.
So I'd like to share this. I was really thinking of changing our emblem from on real holistic duck to really a picture of a duck, and here's the realization about a duck is that a duck is truly an animal that goes everywhere. It can swim, it can run, it can fly. So and it actually in a strange and perhaps funny way, I mean that's how I can describe holistic medicine. It's really an animal that does everything. So realholisticduck.com. Tom, you're doing the same. I mean, it's like, words are, one can use words in whatever way you want, but I mean, I see the truth. I mean, the heart is there, the results are there. I mean, it's wonderful. The other thing is our practice. If you have any questions or you'd like to, consider what we do is we do have a clinic. It's in Springfield, Missouri, as among other things. And I do a lot more education than one-on-one teaching or one-on-one patient care. But there is what is it? I don't call myself very often, 417-351-5221. But the biggest thing is if you get to the website, find out everything you can about holistic medicine from the founding father of holistic medicine, Dr. Norm Shealy, with literally all the foundations of the movement and just how it grew and expanded over the last 60 years. I mean, it's incredible.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And, again, we'll be doing tons more of these kind of things together. We'll maybe do some shorter bits too, like some of those videos to really just like little daily digest and thing. But again, Dr. Sergey Shealy-Soren, thank you so much for joining us, guys. I dropped his realholisticdoc.com in the chat there just so that you have, if you want to learn more about him, check it out. And until next time, lots of love and enjoy the rest of your day.